Beeswax, and did it really come from China?
So I'll see what I can find out. Is it beeswax? Not really sure. When I look at it and touch it, it feels like rock at the top of it. When I looked at the back of it, it's very raw, it's very dark, it's much lighter on this side. And one of the things that I noticed that I find really interesting is it almost looks like someone deliberately carved some type of symbol or their initial onto the piece.
This could be an A, and this could be a B, but I'm not sure. If this is beeswax, I'm curious, who might have been shipping so much of it and why?
It's pretty heavy, you'd be surprised. I think it probably weighs about 20 to 25 pounds. So I think what I'll do is I'll take it outside and I'll take some pictures of it.
Phyllis was right. I found several old articles about beeswax uncovered on the beach at Nehalem Bay.
Here's one from the Wheeler Reporter, and it's dated Thursday, August 15th, 1929. The first settlers say there were great chunks, some weighing 200 pounds. The Indians told of a time when the beach was strewn for miles with the substance.
And there's more.
Oregon fur trader Alexander Henry writes in his journal from 1813, "Great quantities of beeswax continue to be dug out of the sand near this spot, and the Indians bring it to trade with us."
Henry took special note of the discovery of wax because the Pacific Northwest had no honeybees yet. This article suggests that the shipwreck wasn't a Chinese ship, as Phyllis said, but a Spanish galleon. It appears that beeswax was a valuable commodity for the Spanish Empire.
Much of the wax was originally in blocks, weighing about 20 pounds. The large quantity of the wax suggests that it was a shipment consigned to the Catholic missions for use in making images and candles.
In the 17th and 18th centuries, the Spanish built hundreds of Catholic missions in their colonies in the Americas. The church required ritual candles to be made from 100% virgin beeswax. The pure wax symbolized Jesus' flesh from a virgin mother. And unlike waxes made from animal fat or paraffin, beeswax was safe around paintings because it creates no soot. Since there were no honeybees in the Spanish colonies in the New World, beeswax was imported from the Spanish colony in the Philippines. If this is beeswax, I still don't know what it was doing in the Northwest, where there were no Spanish colonies. Before I go any further, I better figure out if Phyllis's piece is even real beeswax. Mike Burgett is head of the Bee Lab of Oregon State University in Corvallis.
Thank you.
Let's go look at some bees. These are worker honeybees, and we're looking at a comb that they have produced entirely from their beeswax. But everything we see here is pure beeswax.
I asked Mike why people would ship beeswax in large blocks.
Even today, this is the common way in wax marketing. Rather than handle small lots of it, you would take wax in a solid state like this, liquefy it, strain it, and pour it into mold.
Mike explains that if our object is beeswax, it could be several centuries old.
Beeswax is an item that lasts forever. A block of beeswax today is going to be that same block 1,000 years from now. You can't say that about honey. Honey will eventually, quote unquote, spoil.
He says that there are over 20,000 species of bees in the world, but only 8 or 9 species of honeybees.
Bee we're looking at right here, Elise, is commonly called the European honeybee or the Western honeybee.
Mike tells me that European honeybees didn't arrive in the Northwest until pioneers brought hives in the 1860s. We've gotten permission from Phyllis to take a sample from her block, so Mike can confirm if we do have beeswax and figure out what kind of bees may have made it. Jeff Moore is a researcher at the university's chemistry lab.
There you go.
Oh, thanks. Let's go run on GCMS.
The GCMS is a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer which separates complex chemicals into their individual components. Jeff dissolves our sample in chloroform, then injects the liquid into the testing device. The sample is vaporized and shot down a long tube where its elements divide. Bee species have evolved differently depending on their location. If we do have beeswax, the chemical composition will be a kind of fingerprint that can identify the source of our sample. The findings are matched against samples of both the European and the giant Asian honeybee.
You can see that the Apis mellifera and the Apis dorsata have quite different pattern.
Right.
And when we look at the sample, it very closely resembles Apis dorsata.
So our example looks very close to the...
Giant honeybee.
Okay, we do have beeswax, and it definitely came from the giant Asian honeybee. But exactly where the wax was harvested, Dr. Burgett isn't sure.
It could be from the Philippines, but it could as well be from other geographical areas in Southeast Asia.
Andy says that it's difficult to test the wax's age because radiocarbon dating can only tell us within 300 years. Maybe the markings on the wax can help answer those questions. Mitch Markin has recovered underwater artifacts off the coasts of Mexico, Ecuador, and Bermuda. I'm hoping you'll have some ideas for me.
Mitch, first tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm a shipwreck archaeologist, and my specialty is ceramics that have been recovered from Spanish galleons.
And what time period are those shipwrecks usually from?
In the period of Spanish colonization, mostly from 1500 through 1800.
And where would you say you primarily find these shipwrecks?
The galleons that I've looked at are in the Caribbean, the Pacific, Vietnam, North Sea of Britain, Mexico, all over actually.
Mitch explains that the Spanish galleons were the largest and most advanced fleet of their day. For almost 250 years, starting in the mid-1500s, the Spanish galleon trade ships crisscrossed the globe. Silver from the New World headed west across the Pacific. In the Philippine port of Manila, the precious metal was traded for Chinese silk, spices, porcelain, and beeswax. The galleons returned to Acapulco, Mexico, and their cargo was then shipped over land to Veracruz and onward across the Atlantic to Spain.
Mitch, I'm researching this piece of beeswax that was found on the Oregon coast, and it looks like there's a mark that's deliberately carved in it. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
I sure have. In fact, a lot of the ceramics that I've studied from these shipwrecks have similar markings. Let me show you something. These are called Spanish olive jars, and we recovered a bunch of them from Spanish shipwrecks. One is from the first half of the 16th century that was found in the Bahamas, and this one is from the Spanish Armada in 1588.
Mitch shows me the rims of these jars, broken off during recovery. They're frequently engraved with a mark composed of overlapping letters called a sigla.
It's a very, very Spanish custom. And the overlapping letters that you see here actually represent somebody's name or a merchant business.
He says a Spanish merchant would carve this mark before putting his cargo on a ship to make sure he was paid when the merchandise was delivered.
They appear on the jars, and obviously it looks like you've got somebody shipping a chunk of wax as well.
Mitch says our mark is clearly a Spanish sigla. He's done some research to try to figure out what galleon our beeswax might have been on. He can't find a match to our sigla, but Mitch knows someone else who can help. Scott Williams of the Washington State Office of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Mitch had told me the Spanish never made it as far as Oregon, but Scott has found other evidence of Spanish colonial trade on the same beach at Nehalem Bay.
Scott, so if you're going from Manila to Acapulco, how would the beeswax end up here?
They would actually leave Manila and sail way up north towards Japan to above the 30-degree latitude.
He says from there, the ships would catch winds that carried them across the Pacific.
This was an incredibly long and dangerous voyage. It was not unusual for 10 or 20% of the passengers and crew to die, either due to scurvy or disease. So if your crew's dead or weakened, they can't steer the boat as easily, and some kind of storm or adverse winds comes up, it could push it right into the Oregon coast.
Scott shows me a list of all 33 Spanish galleons lost in the Pacific during their 250 years of trade.
Because this trade was so important, the Spanish kept records of every ship that sailed. The cargo was that valuable.
Scott explains that besides beeswax, which we know can't be dated, the ships also carried Chinese porcelain. Scott's team has found some 1,200 pieces of Chinese porcelain on the same beach where the beeswax came from. By matching the patterns on the porcelain pieces to patterns of known Chinese porcelain, his team has been able to figure out when the porcelain was made.
And they fall pretty tightly into a time period between 1680 and 1700 AD.
The porcelain dates help him narrow down his search to two possible ships, the San Francisco Xavier and the Santo Cristo de Burgos. But Scott has one more piece of evidence that helps us pinpoint when the ship carrying the beeswax may have disappeared. An ancient document discovered in the National Library in Paris.
This is a French translation of the original Spanish cargo manifest. And right here it says 500 Marquette de Cire.
Phyllis is going to love this.
Phyllis, first of all, thank you. It was a great investigation. And when I saw that I was investigating beeswax, I really wasn't sure where it was going to take me. The first question you asked was this piece beeswax? And we took it to a lab, and I'm happy to tell you that it is 100% beeswax.
Wow. Yeah, after all these years, this truly is beeswax.
I tell Phyllis that the carved markings help prove that her wax came over not on a Chinese ship, but on a Spanish galleon.
So it really
And
did come
we
from-
found one more piece of evidence that helped us figure out just when her beeswax set sail.
500 Marquette de Cire, which is 500 cakes of wax, weighing up to 300 pounds each, for a total of 75 tons of beeswax. So we can say with confidence that the Reckitt Nehalem is one of these two Spanish galleons, either the Santo Cristo de Burgos or the San Francisco Javier. We haven't found a cargo manifest for that ship yet, but it's very likely that it was also carrying a lot of beeswax.
I tell Phyllis what her family discovered decades ago is more than just an ancient piece of cargo. It's a link to one of the world's earliest and longest-running global trade routes.
All the evidence points to the fact that your piece sailed from the Philippines on a Spanish galleon over 300 years ago. Your mom was right.
Oh, that is real. That's exciting. When you have something like this and you can touch it, it's like history becomes real. And to know that this piece was laying under the sand, under the water, all those years, and then to find out it's real. So yeah, we'll hold on to it. It's living history.
In the early 19th century, several of Spain's Latin American colonies were violently clamoring for independence. Already weakened by the Napoleonic Wars in Europe, Spain was no match for liberation movements in Mexico, Venezuela, and Colombia. Spain's loss of their New World colonies ended their supply of South American silver, and the last galleon returned from Acapulco in 1815.
For more of my interview with Mike Burgett, go to History Detectives on the web at pbs.org.
On Friday the 13th, 1733, 21 Spanish galleons left Havana, loaded with gold, silver, gems, and spices from the New World. The spectacular cargo made seductive prey for pirates, so these ships sailed in numbers for safety. The second day at sea, the winds shifted, blowing the whole fleet off course. Lieutenant General Rodrigo de Torres ordered a return to Havana. Only 5 ships made land. The rest wrecked along an 80-mile stretch off the Florida Keys. Rescue boats were dispatched. Damaged ships that couldn't be towed in were burnt to the waterline, concealing them from looters. For years, Spanish ships returned to the wrecks, seeking to recover the cargo. Today, 13 ships on the ocean floor make up what is now called the Spanish Galleon Trail. Their sunken hulls are some of the oldest artificial reefs in North America. Underwater tourists can visit the 300-year-old ships, now teeming with marine life. And sunken treasure? The Spaniard salvage efforts were so effective that it seems nothing remains.